In the last half hour. In the last 4 hours, Pope's top aide to stand trial over historic sex offences. In the last 8 hours, Australian Cardinal to go on trial for sexual abuse charges. Yesterday, Cardinal to face trial on decades of sex abuse allegations. Sexual offence charges. Vatican treasurer to face trial in Australia. Vatican treasurer to stand trial for alleged sex offences. Vatican treasurer to stand trial for alleged historical sex offences. Australian Cardinal to stand trial on sexual abuse charges. Cardinal George Pell trial ruling welcomed by survivors' rights group. Vatican official to stand trial for historical sexual abuse charges. Cardinal Pell to face trial on several charges of sexual assault. Cardinal Pell to face jury trial in Australia. Cardinal George Pell faces sex abuse trial in Australia. Former Pope aide to face trial on sex abuse charges. Cardinal Pell to face trial on 10 charges of sexual assault. Vatican treasurer. Cardinal Pell to stand trial on sex assault charges. Australian court orders Cardinal Pell to stand trial. Vatican. Cardinal Pell to stand trial on sex assault charges. George Pell's committal to trial makes front page news around world. Australian Cardinal to face trial on sexual abuse charges. Senior Vatican official ordered to stand trial on sex abuse charges. Vatican treasurer faces historical sexual offences trial. Cardinal Pell to stand trial on historical sex charges. Vatican treasurer to stand trial for sex offences. Pope's close aide to stand trial on sex abuse offences. Vatican treasurer Pell to stand trial on multiple historic sex offences. Video. George Pell to stand trial on a number of sexual offence charges. Pope aide Pell to stand trial on multiple sex abuse charges. George Pell to face trial but many charges dropped. Vatican's treasurer ordered to stand trial in Australia. Cardinal George Pell to stand trial on sexual abuse charges. Cardinal Pell to face trial over historical sexual assault allegations. Cardinal George Pell to stand trial on serial sex abuse charges. Australian court orders Vatican treasurer Pell to stand trial. Cardinal Pell to face trial on criminal charges in Australia. Cardinal George Pell to stand trial on sexual abuse charge. Pope aide Pell to stand trial on sexual abuse charges. Cardinal committed to trial. George Pell to stand trial on historic sex offence charges. Cardinal George Pell will stand trial on historical sexual offence charges. Cardinal George Pell to stand trial over historical sex offence charge. Pope aide Pell to stand trial on multiple sex abuse charges. Court. Cardinal George Pell's sex abuse case to go to trial. Cardinal George Pell, Vatican treasurer, will stand trial for sexual abuse. George Pell to stand trial on at least one historic sex offence charge. Vatican treasurer George Pell to face trial for historical sexual offences. Australia set to rule on whether Cardinal Pell stands trial. Cardinal George Pell to stand trial on historical sex offences. Australian Cardinal to stand trial on historical sexual offence charge. George Pell to stand trial over historical sexual offence charge. George Pell going to trial. Cardinal George Pell to stand trial on historical sexual offence charges. Cardinal George Pell will face trial over historical sexual offence charges. In the last 7 days, George Pell back in Victoria Court for trial.